deep within the black pine forests of medieval Germany, where the trees grow so thick that sunlight never touches the ground, the villagers knew one rule above all others: never let the kobold go hungry. Because when a kobold grows angry, the cows stop giving milk, the horses go lame overnight, children disappear before dawn, leaving only tiny muddy footprints leading into the dark wood. And no sword, no prayer, no burning torch can bring them back. There was only one way to calm the rage of these ancient forest spirits. One ritual, one offering that had been passed down through witch covens for over 1,000 years. Milk and the blood of a rooster. The year is 1347. The village of Schwarztal, nestled in the Black Forest of southwestern Germany, had suffered 3 terrible winters in a row. Livestock died without cause. Grain rotted before harvest. The village elder, an old woman named Marta, recognized the signs immediately. The kobold was awake, and it was furious. Kobolds were not the harmless little creatures that later folklore would sanitize them into. The original kobold of Western European legend was something far older and far darker. A spirit of the deep forest, neither fully demon nor fully ghost, bound to ancient trees and the roots beneath them. They had been worshipped by pre-Christian Germanic tribes as guardians of the underground and the hidden places of the earth. But guardians demand respect, and respect, in the old tradition, demanded blood. Marta gathered the last remaining members of the Forest Witch Coven, women who still remembered the old rites, the ones the church had tried to burn away for 3 centuries. Together they prepared for the ritual that had not been performed in 40 years. The forest grew silent around them. Even the wind held its breath. The kobold in its true form was rarely seen. Ancient manuscripts described it as standing no taller than a child's knee, with bark gray skin, eyes like polished coal, and fingers long enough to wrap twice around a man's wrist. Its voice, when it chose to speak, sounded like roots grinding through stone. The witch covens of Western Europe maintained detailed records of how to negotiate with these beings. The most comprehensive of these records, the Wald Pact or Forest Pact, described the kobold not as an enemy, but as a landlord, one whose territory humans had always occupied on borrowed terms. When the terms were broken, the kobold collected its debt in suffering. The ritual of milk and rooster blood was the oldest form of payment recorded. The rooster, as the herald of dawn and the enemy of darkness, represented sacrifice. Its blood, offered freely and without struggle, signaled submission. The milk, warm and freshly drawn from the eldest cow of the herd, represented the community's willingness to sustain the spirit as one of their own. The witch coven would mix these 2 elements in a bowl carved from the heartwood of a lightning-struck oak, the only wood considered sacred enough to hold the offering without corruption. Then they would carry it to the center of the forest, alone, at midnight, and they would wait. Marta led the coven that night. 7 women, each carrying a single candle, walked in silence through the trees that twisted above them like the fingers of giants. They found the stone altar they had been told about, a flat rock covered in lichen and carved symbols, so old no living person could read them. They placed the bowl. They spoke the words. They waited. The candles went out all at once. From beneath the roots, something moved. The women did not run. Running was death. The old wisdom was absolute on this point. You stayed. You showed no fear. You breathed. A shape appeared in the darkness, small, ancient. Its coal-black eyes caught no light because there was no light left. It tilted its head and examined the bowl. Then it drank. The forest exhaled. The trees above them seemed to lean back. Somewhere in the distance, an owl cried out and was answered by another. The kobold looked at Marta for a long moment. Then it turned and disappeared into the earth as if it had never existed. The twist came at dawn. When the women returned to the village, every sick animal had recovered overnight. The grain stores that had been rotting were dry and whole. And And on the doorstep of every house was a single small handprint pressed into the soil. Not a threat, an acknowledgement, a signature on a new contract. The debt had been paid. The pact had been renewed. The witch covens kept their records hidden for centuries. Some of those records still exist today, buried in private collections and monastery archives across Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Historians rarely discuss them openly. But the kobold does not care about historians. The forests are still there. The stones are still carved. And in certain villages, on the night before the first frost, families still leave a small bowl on the back step, just in case.